Breaking: Keir Starmer just pulled off what may be the most desperate political U-turn in British history. And what happened next has sent shockwaves through Westminster and beyond. Reform UK has surged to its highest polling numbers ever, crushing Labour in every major survey. Nigel Farage is now being called the next Prime Minister by political experts. And Starmer's own MPs are openly questioning whether their leader has completely lost his mind. This isn't just a minor shift in policy. This is a government in absolute freefall, desperately copying the very party that's now poised to destroy them. 3 months ago, Keir Starmer stood before Parliament promising a humane, compassionate approach to immigration. He criticised the Conservatives for being too harsh, too cruel, and too disconnected from British values. He went as far as to call millions of British voters racist and dangerous for supporting stricter immigration controls.
Well, you're a racist, aren't you? Let's be honest, you're a racist, and apparently so am I. We're racist. How do you feel about that, Layla Cunningham?
If wanting border control, wanting people to come here and pay their way, then fine, I'm racist. Call me whatever you want. In fact, I feel the more insults come our way, the more we're galvanized and we realize that we're fighting for this country.
The same leader who condemned these policies as immoral is now scrambling to implement them himself. Fast forward to today, and Starmer has just announced the most draconian immigration crackdown in modern British history. We're talking about digital ID cards for every citizen, extending citizenship waiting periods from 5 to 10 years, and eliminating family reunification rights for asylum seekers.
And to call us racist, to call Nigel Farage as leader of the country, to call millions of people that support him and to call him a racist and a danger to this country is one of the most irresponsible things I feel a leader has ever done.
I was utterly gobsmacked yesterday. We have to continue it today because, of course, he's rode back today, which is got him even more of a pickle in my mind, because yesterday...
And here's the irony. Starmer is pushing through these sweeping restrictions at a time when barely 1 in 6 Britons trust Labour to handle immigration. That's just 17% of the country. It would almost be funny if it weren't so tragic. At the Labour conference, Home Secretary Yvette Cooper announced a set of proposals that looked almost indistinguishable from Reform UK's, the very same reforms Starmer had condemned as racist and immoral only months earlier. Labour can only resort to name-calling like far-right and racist because they cannot debate the actual policies on merit. They're calling the same policies racist when proposed by Reform, but moral when proposed by themselves.
It's a racist policy. I do think it's immoral. It needs to be called out for what it is.
And do you think that Reform UK is trying to appeal to racists?
No, I think that there are plenty of people who either vote Reform or are thinking of voting Reform who are frustrated. They had 14 years of failure under the Conservatives.
The parallels are impossible to ignore. Labour now looks like it's trying to out-reform Reform, and voters see right through it. Reform UK's momentum is turning into something close to a political landslide. The latest Ipsos poll places the party at 34%, giving Nigel Farage a commanding 9-point lead over Labour. For Starmer, the optics couldn't be worse. He now looks less like a Prime Minister and more like a man who's abandoned every principle he ever claimed to hold. Even voices inside his own party are describing the new immigration stance as tone-deaf. Outside Westminster, over 100 human rights organisations have condemned Labour's crackdown as the harshest in decades. But the damage runs deeper than polling numbers. It's psychological. You can feel it in the public mood. When a leader spends months branding an opponent's ideas as immoral, only to recycle those same ideas under a different label, the result isn't strength, it's weakness. It doesn't inspire confidence. It reeks of panic.
To the ID cards, they're called Brit cards. I can't work out, of course Keir Starmer and the gang, oh well, it's going to crack down on illegal working by migrants. Well, we have a system already whereby legal working requires, proof of residency.
The numbers confirm what everyone already senses. Reform UK, 34%, their highest score ever recorded. Labour, 25%, the lowest since October 2019. The Conservatives, a humiliating 15%, the worst in Ipsos's entire history of political polling. And Starmer's personal ratings tell the same story. Half of Britons now say he's doing a poor job as Prime Minister, up 5 points in just a few months. Even among Labour's own 2024 supporters, Nearly half admit they're disappointed with what the government has achieved so far. Inside Parliament, Farage has become the voice of the overlooked. He cites petitions signed by thousands of ordinary Britons, not as paperwork, but as proof of a widening gulf between voters and those who claim to represent them. Pensioners losing their winter fuel allowance, family farmers crushed by inheritance tax, small business owners drowning under national insurance costs. These aren't isolated grievances. Farage weaves them into a single narrative, a government that no longer listens, and a political class that's forgotten who it serves. In one of his recent speeches, Farage went even further, linking high net migration to mounting pressures on housing, education, and wages. He suggested those trends have helped drive recent declines in GDP per capita, a claim economists still debate. Migration reshapes the labor force and demographics. It can add strain, but it also brings skills, enterprise, and tax revenue. Independent fiscal analyses agree on one thing: immigration's effects are long-term, structural, and require careful planning, not panicked headlines. Farage predicts the next election will produce a radically different parliament, and he's positioning Reform UK as the vehicle of that transformation. His strategy blends populist storytelling, the pensioner, the farmer, the small business owner, with precise attacks on Starmer's latest ideas, particularly the proposed digital ID cards, which he calls the most tone-deaf policy announcement in modern British politics. To his audience, it's not just a critique, it's a challenge, a declaration that while Labour fumbles with contradictions, Reform UK is offering something Britain hasn't felt in years: clarity, conviction, and the illusion of control. But the immigration crackdown reveals something even more damaging about Starmer's leadership. He's essentially admitting that Reform UK was right all along. After months of calling Farage's positions extreme and dangerous, Starmer is now adopting policies that are arguably even harsher.
I mean, this is the playbook, right? We've not mentioned race. We're not talking about ethnicity or background. We don't care where you're from. You could be white from America. Race doesn't come into it. I don't even know what they're talking about. We're talking about who qualifies to stay permanently in Britain and live off a system that British working...
The message to voters is devastatingly simple. If these policies are necessary now, why did Labour oppose them before? If Reform UK was right about immigration, what else are they right about? Reform UK's head of policy has accused Starmer of using inflammatory language to demonise Farage, even claiming the Prime Minister is inciting violence because he knows he can't beat him at the ballot box. The revelation that Farage's personal security was recently cut by 75% has only added fuel to these accusations, and the numbers are terrifying for Labour. Recent YouGov MRP polling shows Reform UK winning 311 seats in a hypothetical election, just 15 short of an outright majority. Labour would collapse to 144 seats, losing 267 from its 2024 result. In Scotland, they'd win just 9 seats compared to the SNP's 37. In Wales, Labour would be reduced to 3 seats, all in Cardiff, the first time since 1918 that Labour wouldn't win the majority in Wales. The Conservatives, obliterated with just 45 seats left. Why would voters choose the imitation when they can have the original? Nigel Farage must be laughing all the way to Downing Street. Every harsh immigration policy Starmer unveils validates what Reform UK has been saying for years. Inside Labour, panic is setting in. You don't abandon core principles and alienate your MPs unless you're in crisis. Sources describe an atmosphere of despair, ministers quietly plotting escape routes, backbenchers in disbelief. Less than 18 months after winning a landslide, Starmer looks like a man who's lost control of his party, his message, and his mandate. Starmer promised change, but the only thing changing now is how quickly his government is collapsing. Reform UK's rise isn't just about immigration. It's about authenticity versus calculation, conviction versus compromise, leadership versus management. And on every one of those measures, Farage is winning. This immigration U-turn isn't saving Starmer's leadership. It's accelerating its end. We're witnessing the collapse of the post-Blair Labour project. The party that once dominated British politics now trails behind a movement that didn't even exist 5 years ago. Reform UK's rise to 34% isn't just a poll statistic, it's a revolution. And Starmer's pathetic attempt to copy their agenda has only made that revolution inevitable. What do you think? Has Starmer's immigration U-turn destroyed Labour's chances of recovery? Is this the moment Reform UK became unstoppable? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.